Okay. So who wants to go first with their presentation? Again, if you are interested in having some kind of PowerPoint thrown up, do send me an email quickly to my Gmail address and I will happily put it up for you as you speak. As it's just the one page that we are presenting on, you just need about 10 to 15 minutes to do it, if so long. Um, Remember, you are presenting on your what, your why, and your who. Three paragraphs. What your project is about, why is this project important to do, and who are you targeting? Who will you be working with um, on this project? All right, so let's begin. Jerome, are you ready? Would you like to go first, or would you like some of your colleagues to go before you? And I'm only offering that to Jerome because this is his first class with us. But I get the sense
Yeah,
that he has received some information about the course. Well, now you're on the platform, so you would see your course outline and everything there.
yeah. Um, well, I don't mind sharing what I have. So what I got, um, I did get the worksheet, and I sent that. I don't know what the actual paragraph is. The one page itself you was presenting on today. But I do
Yes.
have points on that I was going to start to build on. I could start with that.
Okay. Did it before I allow you? Have you done that working through the worksheet that I sent to everyone?
Yeah.
That everyone has been using? All right. Well, I give you the floor. I think it's worth hearing, and then we will have some of the others present. It's 4:27 now. You have about 10 minutes. You may begin.
Okay, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Um, okay, so my general, okay, I'll speak from the worksheet itself. The generals in the general area that I'm going to go on is dance, and I'm going to focus on our folklore and way more in specific into our folklore characters as the Duans, larger plus the Lagohu within Trinidad and Tobago. And what I would like to do is present it in a ballet form to put on stage. So, our culture and the way we preserve our culture is mostly oral, and to me that is and to me that is it's dying now. It is not as the elders dying out and the youngsters need a new way to access the material because a lot of them now do not sit down and have conversations with the elders. Um, so to me, that knowledge is being lost and diluted throughout, and we need a new way to save it, save our culture, save our stories and our heritage. And and to do that, I believe we can put it on stage or oral. We could translate it into movement and put it on stage in a ballet form. And I believe it's important because again, our culture is very important part of our identity and our history. And without that, we will not know ourselves. And if we don't know ourselves, we cannot guide the future. And for the group that I have chosen to work with, it has a group down point 14. Um, the group down point 14 I chose to work with in point 14 area because within that area, the I have spoken to a few of the elders there, and the story and the culture, the stories and the culture is extremely rich in the area, and they are willing to work with me on this project to to save the culture and also to help further it to even evolve, I'll say even evolve it to extent. And also because in this age, as we know, we're going on online, and some of these things again may not be face to face. And even if they're not able to actually physically go and see, we could still do it, record it, and we'll still have it on a database in two forms. You should have people who could record it orally and have the movement aspect of it. and that could also go to a broader, and that also extend to a broader, um, sorry, right, help extend to a broader of our community. For example, ones who may be impaired, who may not be able to hear, and within the movement, they may be able to see and be able to relate a little better. Right. Oh, miss your mic, your mic.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this. I'm intrigued by this. Would you like that they all present and then we give feedback, or do you want to go one after?
Sorry?
Mike.
Yeah, still one more time?
It's up to you. I don't know if I mean I'm writing down notes, but if it's easier to respond immediately, I don't know. It's
All
up to you
right.
because I want to give it ample time for everybody.
Right. So let's hear them and then we can respond to them. But Joe, I just had one quick question just for my own sake of clarity, because it had dipped a little bit. So you work with the elders to help them to capture their stories that reflect heritage. So it's like heritage making you're engaging with.
Yes, yeah, and heritage, and also again to try to because our culture, there are lots of stories and everything like all the stories and everything like that, and I just want to try to preserve it.
Yeah, but no, okay. So the thing is, I would still need you to work that worksheet because you did do what you're supposed to do today, but I can hear where the project is a little all over still. It needs fine
Yeah,
tuning. So I need you to go back with that in mind, and even now as your colleagues are presenting, work that
yeah.
worksheet back through for me, if you don't mind.
Okay, no
All right?
problem.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you. Who can we have next? Christopher, are you ready? I'm just going as I see you all on the screen.
Sure, yeah, I can go on ahead.
Sure, certainly. Thank you. You have the floor. Go ahead.
All right. So, my project is it's basically well the same as last year, but a little bit different. So the idea was to work with my community on doing a documentary, right? So teaching them how to make documentary films. So that's like the general idea, right? So that's the what I guess. So really, what I'm going to be doing, focusing on a lot on is like the first person documentary. So first person documentaries are very much about the person that's making them, right? So we're gonna teach people how to make uh those kind of documentary films. Um, so that's that. Uh, for the why, I think it's like really important because a lot of across the globe, that's where um, cinema kind of started, um, and sort of developing that kind of um, cinema culture here is pretty important to me. Um, and it serves as sort of like a base level kind of introduction to filmmaking. Um, One of the things that I wanted to do as well is use like archives, like teaching people how to dive into, particularly if they're like family archives, like the photos that you have as a child and like the kind of stories that you have growing up, and teaching people how to show those stories on screen. And I think that's really important for us to have. Um, so yeah, my biggest hurdle right now is finding my community because I'm not really sure who the who is just yet. So I was thinking about doing working with my niece. So my niece and a lot of her friends like are pretty interested in filmmaking. I also wanted to keep the group quite small, so I can give them a lot more attention. And I know that's something that you said you want to start off with a kind of a bigger group, Dr. Tell. So in case that it's at a dwindles down. So I'm keeping that in mind. So yeah, I was thinking of working with my niece and some of her friends. If not, I know I want to work with some younger people. One of the things that I wanted to do with the project was sort of have like an Instagram page or something that can use as a, like I can use it for documentation and stuff. And that would kind of go kind of in hand with my showcase. But where was I going with this? Yeah, so what I was thinking of doing as well is doing a sort of an open call, and having people apply with to come to me with an idea that they would like to work on, and we can go from there, which I think it would help me a lot. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about it at this point.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. We will
Mm-hmm.
give the feedback at the end.
Okay, cool.
Nicole?
Hi. So my project is more focused on how you can use dance to as a tool for like conditioning and rehabilitating athletes. It's more focused to enhance their sport performance. So I would be using different aspects of Horton technique as well as Caribbean dance, like an amalgamation of the two, to teach teach the athletes so that they can develop cardiovascular fitness, agility, strength, flexibility, and greater body awareness. Um, I chose those two styles because I think they take a more holistic approach to um, but to body development, and I think with probably using short sequences, it would also help with the athletes' confidence. So that would in turn help them in their sporting performance. I chose this because as an athlete myself, I know that a lot of people may not like the traditional methods of training, going to the gym how much ever times a week and just doing the same boring monotonous training. So I think that this is an excellent opportunity to give them an interesting approach, a new approach to training that is not only fun, but it also helps give a wide variety of exercises to reduce monotony, and it makes exercises more functional as compared to the traditional exercises that they would be doing. I also believe that it's important because it provides that holistic experience, and that is greater captured than those traditional methods because it is a multifaceted approach to the physical development, and it is enjoyable and you can perform it under various constraints, whether it's limited space or lack of equipment or whatever. You can do this under a lot of constraints. Well, my intended community is amateur athletes, I should say, between the ages of 18 to 25. Most of them are students at UWI. Most of them are student athletes at UWI. So I will be contacting them through the sports coordinator and getting a hold of them to try to specify which sports and if they have any specific area that they want to focus on, whether most of them would want to focus on their endurance or increase their flexibility. I will try to tailor that to suit as best as possible their needs. And well, yeah, I'll be doing it over most likely soon. That way I have a medium that I can record it and I can see everyone in real time under these COVID restrictions. But yeah, that's just what I said.
Okay, thank you, Nicole, for that. Okay, that's appreciated. Andrew?
Miss, you can hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay.
Nice
Great.
hearing you. And Andrew, are you ready? I see you're still here under your Gmail, but I did send the link to the Andrew.Alexander. Is Andrew here?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Are you ready to present?
Yes, I'm having some issues with the service desk. They told me it will be a week or so before they can address my concerns because they have a
Okay.
backup of students with issues.
Okay. All right. No problem. But you're here. Good to have you. So you may proceed. Go ahead.
I want to rise. I want to rise. I want the children to rise. From the time the first bamboo come and we drag it down from the St. Anne's Hill, from the day the first Chantwell lead the band, the real jamming start that day and we jamming still. The project seeks to utilize culture, local culture and literature, not excluding diasporic literature, as resource material, stimuli, and a springboard to promote the development of self-confidence, expression, and performance, and literacy. So I tell them, sweet, sweet Trinidad, first I love this country bad. I don't want to leave at all, ever since I small. So I would get into my what in more detail. In 2017, Trinidadian National Thoroughbest former teacher and principal was awarded the Hummingbird Medal Gold for exemplary work and promotion of using Calypso as a resource material and stimulus for teaching students to read. Her approach may be considered a reading fluency approach. The International Reading Association reported in their monthly journal magazine, The Reading Teacher, an article highlighting the effectiveness of reading fluency programs among high-risk learners as compared to non-reading fluency programs, which were much less effective among high-risk learners. Furthermore, and interestingly enough, the 1869 Keenan report on the elementary school system in Trinidad recommended that there be the production of a set of books suited to Trinidadian children dealing with their own environment. By the conclusion of the project, students would have been exposed to a variety of local literature and some aspects of local culture. Learners would also show improvement and more confidence in oral and general expression and be able to identify more of the words of the content of focus that they would have been exposed to, and as a result, read the content more fluently. The program also aims to stimulate a sense of enjoyment in students as they engage in activities related to the content of focus being explored during the sessions. Learners would also be able to identify important details about the content that they engaged in the particular session. We bright little youths going to waste somebody dinge the smile off their face. Every year, a number of students fall below the 30% mark in the English language arts component and overall in the SEA examination. Depending on their age, such students are directed to repeat the test. In 2019 and 2020, respectively, 13.7% and 11% of students who wrote the SEA examination scored below 30%. There is also a marked number of students who score between 30% and 60% in the SEA examination and are sent to the secondary level of education. The academically weakest of these students are usually placed in a Form 1 special remedial class. These two groups of students represent students who have not fully benefited or appreciated the language learning and reading methods that they were engaged in during their period of tutelage. Students who struggle academically tend to experience significant levels of personal insecurities and pronounced feelings of self-doubt regarding their academic life. This generally often affects their self-esteem and can also result in overly aggressive behavior. Institutionalized children, many of whom come from a background of either abandonment, neglect, abuse, extreme poverty, or trauma, often find themselves grappling with the aforementioned issues. A non-traditional approach to language learning and the teaching of reading should not be disregarded, but rather fully explored for its potential to reach the students who have not been responding well to traditional language learning and reading approaches. These students, like remedial readers, often lack confidence because reading is a gateway skill to all academic learning. In fact, a child deemed to be reading at the frustration level, based on the Ministry of Education's informal reading inventory instrument, is, for all intents and purposes, in the context of academics, functionally illiterate.
No, Andrew, you've actually run out of time and you've not had opportunity to tell us your who. Could you just tell us that quickly, if you don't mind? Just let me have an idea of the group that you decided on.
Okay, well, the who is related to institutionalized children or children who are reading at frustration level or who have remedial readers.
Do you have a group
The
as yet?
specific group, I contacted one group and I have to go through a procedure with two different groups. The institutions have their procedures, but I have like a backup plan just in case. Yeah.
Right, okay. And I suppose you got my email. Right, so we'll talk more with you. Not bad, but we'll talk more with you at the end of everyone else's presentation on just a few things. Okay, thank you so much for that, though. Thank you. Christelle, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Great, Bluetooth
Right.
working and everything. Nice.
Right. So over the years, I have been teaching dance in a group here in Tobago. A number of children in the group. We have different levels. And I realized that half of the parents have never been in any way a part of any cultural performances or any group when they were younger. And some of them would actually just come and drop off the children and go back home and leave them in class. So my project now would seek to engage the parents of the children involved in the performing arts by giving them a cultural experience in what the children are engaged in. What I want to do is have the parents, well, I would do like dance and music because I'm also into music and drumming, right? So I really want the fathers on board specifically for that music part because I want them to get involved in the drumming aspect of it, where I can teach them the rhythms. Well, if we are doing the online thing, I could just teach them the rhythm, let them listen to the rhythms and identify the rhythms, right? I can also get someone to show them how to pull up a drum, pull down a drum, and they can create mini drums out of whatever materials they have. For the females, I want to go through the ballet dance with them where I can explain the costumes and I could do a few movements with them. And if I see that they are capable of moving forward with the movements, then I can create a piece with them. Also want to go through the costume, like I said. Right, the songs for the ballet. So we're going to use ballet, and we'll fine tune that. So we'll go through the costumes, the song, the music, everything for the ballet. What I didn't answer. Right, so I believe that this is important because it will help the children, perhaps some of them that are not so enthusiastic about it, because I realize that the parents who actually stay, the children are more enthusiastic about the classes and what is going on. And the ones who parents just drop them off and go, they are always, giving a little trouble. And, it's like, mommy dropping me here and I don't want to be here. But, here I come, I'll do what I want. So I believe that if the parents get involved, they will be more enthusiastic about it. It will build some self-confidence in some of them. And they would approach, I believe they would approach the sessions differently, because if they see their parents taking part in it and how influential it is on them, they would change their attitude towards what is being taught. So yeah, that's the road I'm going down. Well, my target group is the parents of the children.
Great. Thank you very much. I believe we've had everyone who is in attendance today. Dr. Westby, we are missing some. Emmanuel is not well today, but I don't know the case with the others. So we will work with who we have here. I haven't seen Kimmy come back in. Kimmy, are you here? Did you get back in? No, because I see her, like I'm actually trying to call her, but it does not seem to be working. All right, so we'll give some feedback. Dr. Westby, if you don't mind, I will start because mine is more on the content side, and you can certainly join me. But then you can give your comments then in terms of what you will be focusing on, and that, of course, would allow you then to get into your lecture, right? So let me start with who went first, Jerome? So Jerome, I asked that you would refine, and the reason for that is this is the beauty of that worksheet. That worksheet forces you to get a particular focus that is manageable, that helps you to be clear on the target community. I think your target community sounds all right, but I think that you are still not very sure as to what exactly you'll be doing with them. And I believe if you utilize the worksheet in the way in which it is presented, you will be able to nail that down. So, so I am encouraging you to use that. I would look out for an email from you. If you send it to the Gmail, you'll get a faster response that you can fine tune that. And don't wait till the following week to do it, because I believe your deadline date for your one page is coming up. The sooner you do the worksheet, it will be easier then to create that one page of those 3 paragraphs. The lectures are on the wall, so you can always go back and see what we had discussed when we did them. That you would have the details then on how you should be constructing that one page and so on. All right. So those will be my comments there to you. I do like the idea of heritage making and heritage retention. I think you will be doing 2 things at the same time, because in them recalling the stories, that is heritage retention. But then in however you decide now that you will be helping them to capture those stories online, and you will be doing it online. I am not encouraging anyone to do face to face because we don't know what will happen in January. And I believe that the idea that you have will be very dynamic and innovative if you think about how you can do it online. You would also be encouraging a community to get online that might be a bit cyberphobic, but may very well have the devices. A lot of them have tablets or phones now, so that it will help you then to even focus on who might be that community that you're working with. And in that regard, you would be engaging in heritage making as well. Okay. So you can bear that in mind, especially as you try to map out what you will be doing on that worksheet. So that's one. Are there any questions about what I said there, Jerome? Okay. Dr. Westby, you wanted to add anything to that from that end?
Just in terms of if you're getting these elders on board to try to translate their stories about whatever content it might be, and then trying to translate it into movement, then what other sort of people are you using to translate that into movement? And then also in terms of being very specific about what type of movement you want to use that would be the most relevant and
Appropriate.
for
Yeah.
whatever story that might be as well. But that would be your heritage making as well, which would be quite engaging.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, Christopher. Christopher, we always have this little challenge. You need a project. I mean, you yourself say, okay, where am I going with this? Are you there, Christopher? Christopher, hello. Okay, he might have stepped away. So we'll come back to.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, you're here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Christopher, you need a project because you've not used that worksheet. So you need to get that worksheet going that you can settle down. I would suggest that you come away from what you were thinking of doing last year and give yourself a chance to think about what you really can do in this new context because your project does have to operate online. Please read your festival project course outline. You cannot use your family for your project, so forget that. No family members allowed. That is out window. All practical pan,
Sorry, I didn't catch that last bit.
because the music. Can you right? Okay, great. Um, I still am encouraging you to have a large group because people might drop out. You can't have a festival project showcase with 2 people. So it makes no sense starting with 5. It makes no sense starting with 7. If you start with a number of 12 or so, you should land on your feet, even if 2 or 3 people drop out. So same thing as I said to Jerome in terms of your timelines. If you send me something early on in the week or by the weekend, I will happily look at it. You can send it to the Gmail, and you have to get ready to submit your 3-page, your 1 page with your 3 paragraphs, which is coming up very shortly. So please be guided by those deadlines and those guidelines. Dr. Westby, is there anything you want to add to that?
I mean, it needs maybe really think about your community and what you want to, who you want to work with, and then maybe an idea will come more. But even in terms of intergenerational, in terms of film, maybe something could happen interestingly with that. An archive, but there's no clear idea yet.
Yeah. So you need to work on that. Yes, Christopher, go ahead. Any comments or questions or feedback on that?
Not right now. Anything, I'll just email you with my questions there.
Okay, very well. No problem. All right, Nicole, I have a tick by you. I don't really have anything to say in terms of the idea. I think it is strong. I think that what you have presented can work because we are in an online context. I think working with the UWI students who are sportsmen and women would be a very useful and interesting intervention because in a sense is encouraging them to utilize the platform outside of scholastic endeavors. So again, is helping them to still utilize to still engage in their extracurricular online, even though we're on lockdown and the physical may be a little difficult. You are at an advantage, though, I would say, because we are now up to 10 persons in terms of gathering and sports if one space is out, and these kinds of activities have been allowed. so that myself and Dr. Westby and you, we can certainly have a conversation about that. Of course, with the awareness of the head of department as to how you can possibly proceed. We would certainly assist you in trying to identify what are the university's guidelines where gathering is concerned. But certainly in terms of the national directive, you declare for 10 already. And I know, for example, my daughter is in a track club, and they've not only, I think just yesterday, they quite recently sent out a communique saying that they're going to divide them in batches of 5, that they can start their training for the national scholastics season, which will be coming up early next year. So, you can be guided by those things. Dr. Westby, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think it's a good project. I would just, I mean, this is just more detail, but just in terms of the exercises coming from Croton or Caribbean dance to really sort of break down these different exercises in terms of what muscle engagement they're using, and also in terms of whether it's within endurance or flexibility. So you really are understanding the correlation for the athletes for specific sports about what exercises would be advantageous.
Wow, that's great. See, Nicole, you lucky. Look at that. I would not have been able to tell you that. So, any comments on that? Any questions, Nicole?
No, no, thank you.
Okay, okay, great. You're welcome. Andrew,
Yes, Dr. Tom.
right, this is a good project, but Mister, you have to watch timelines, right? If they tell you 10 minutes, it has to be 10 minutes. Um, Now, I'll tell you why you might have gone over time. Now, this course is called Festival Project, and as I had explained, this is a management kind of project. Anything that I used to tell students before, anything that Dr. Tell teaches does not require performance. There's nothing that I teach that requires a performance because I do not teach performance. I am on the other side of the spectrum. So anytime you sign up for anything where you see JTAL, know that you're not supposed to be performing. Now, having
Understood.
said that, that is in part what would have taken up the time, you see.
Okay.
Because when you have 10 minutes, you have to be succinct. So you have to hit the nail on the head. What you will find is that your little blurbs that came in as intros, you may find more useful when you are presenting, even in this instance, if you had presented slides for this, if that was up on the slide before you spoke, it would have resonated because it would have been there and you would have been talking to it. Because I recognize that you chose particular um, lines from particular texts to reflect the point that indigenous literature is very relevant to improving people's literacy and so on and so forth. But when you are presenting, you have to hit the nail on the head. Your 10 minutes is your 10 minutes. And so if you were being graded, look how now we would have totally um, not been able to have the opportunity to hear what your target community is. And that would have been a terrible thing. So you just have to watch that. Outside of that, for me, I think that this is a good project. We had a discussion already about the class. So I'm happy to see that you have since then been working on trying to get that target community that can work well in terms of what you are proposing. Dr. Esme, comments?
Uh, Pretty much what you said. I mean, I think it's a strong
Mhm.
project, and you definitely have done a lot of research already for it, which is good. Um, Even just within its time limit, it's nice to have these little antidotes, but you could just have done that for the introduction and then just continued on as well. So within 10 minutes, you don't have a lot of time.
Yes. Okay, great. Crystal, last but not least, um, the only thing I would say is that I noticed you say get someone to show them the dance. Remember in Festival Project, it's you have to do everything. Crystal, are you there? Right, great.
No,
You
not the
have
dance. Not to show them the dance. To show
right.
them the building of the drum. How you
Oh, the
build a
building
drum.
of the drum.
Yeah,
My
I would
apologies.
show the dance.
Oh, so
Yeah.
but the thing is, you've got to learn it because, in truth and in fact, what really is supposed to happen in Festival Project is that you're supposed to learn any skill that you don't have and then pass it on.
Okay, well, I
And
could
when
do
you,
that. I just
yes,
thought
because
I
when
needed
you,
a professional.
yes, no, because when you write, no, you become the professional even in that regard. Because when you write up your document and you get that part with continuity, and even when we talk about what did you learn from it, this is one of the things that you could say you learn out of the experience, you see, right? So don't deny yourself that opportunity. So you would learn it and then you pass it on to them. I think your why in this instance is particularly strong. I like the fact that your why is different to the usual whys. We tend to get a lot of broad whys in terms of what's going on um, in the community at a macro level. But your whys were very real, even though they were micro, because they hit home at the problematic. And why is it that the parents would be the target community, as well as why is it the project would be an important project to do based on what you are thinking of doing. I think it's innovative in the sense that it's putting a new spin on what is a popular area in festival project, the ballet, because we've had other projects on this, but it is coming from a different angle, and I do like that. And I think it has to do again with that why. The why is what gave the innovative spin to it. Dr. SB, comments?
Yeah, I agree. I would just, I mean, I know that you want like, the music for the fathers and the ballet for the mothers, but
Yes, I was wondering about that too.
maybe just, maybe just keep it a little bit more open on what the parents would like to actually engage with, or open it up to everyone to engage. So just don't
Gender bias
flow,
it.
yeah, flow with it a little bit more.
Agreed.
Okay, yes, I agree too.
Right. Okay. So class, I for those of you who took the courage to present, not singling him out, but I want to especially commend Jerome because this is his first class and he did bravely go. And I am happy to see that there's something there that you can work with Jerome. So I am looking forward to that email. Christopher, I am putting the pressure on you because I know that you are very capable. I do hope that the project does go in the realm of film, especially since we have the use of the technologies online. Could I encourage you to think in the line of TikTok and Snapchat and there's all of that, Christopher. So I am hoping that there's something inside of there that you can work with that would blend it back, even if it still remains East Indian heritage. I certainly wouldn't have a problem with that. But do give that some thought and open up your mind. The sky is the limit where that is concerned. So just give yourself some time to really think on that and please utilize the worksheet. Nicole and Andrew, good, and Crystal, good. So at this point in time, I am going to hand over to Dr. Westby, and she is going to take you through your lecture in terms of your online. I'm sure she has a lot to say. I mean, even from the fact that nobody put up a PowerPoint.
Or even a
Yes,
video. I
or
mean,
even a
Jerome was
video.
brave about that.
Yeah. So it's a
But
good thing we did this early because we might need 4, 5 lectures. Who knows? But yes. Are you able to use your screen to share?
I believe so.
I believe so too. All right. So I will be around, but I am handing
No,
officially over to you. You can't?
I can. I'm good.
Yes, you should be because we're all part of, yeah. Great. Awesome.
Oh, where did I go? Okay. This is sort of my first time using Microsoft Teams, but I'm getting the hang of it as well. So, why I can't? Hold on a second.
It will
There
still
we go.
allow you. Yes, it
Yeah,
will
I
still
just have
allow you
to,
to,
yeah,
yeah.
change
Yes,
around my
it is.
background a little more.
Yes, a little strange, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good. So everybody can see the screen. Yeah. You can turn on your videos if you want. I'm not, that's, and I would say that is something that you should do while
Yes.
presenting. Just so that we know that you are actually there.
Yes, turn on your screens, class. so that Dr. Westby can, because the funny thing is, yes, your screen should be on for this, given the nature of the lecture. So do turn on your screen so that you can stay in tune and she can relate better to you. Please, thank you.
Yes, because there is some details, even just in terms of how you present online, that we actually want
Yes,
to
I hope
detail
that.
within the actual screen.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So effective online presentations, methods, and techniques. I'm actually not going to, I'm just going to let you see the actual PowerPoint because, hold on. Okay. Can you guys see the shared screen or did it go away?
It's still there,
Okay.
but
It's
it
shaking
seems
on
to
mine.
be minimizing a bit.
Oh, right.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to look at this, just a brief sort of theory about working memory, because this is actually used in a lot of different businesses and how they actually think about presenting material in person or online. But obviously, we're all sort of looking in this online format. So Bradley and Hitch's model of working memory is a model of human memory proposed by Alan Baddeley and Graham Hitch in 1974. And it started to present a more accurate model of primary memory, often referred to as short-term memory. So when you're giving 10 minutes, what do we remember from that 10 minutes, right? So Central Executive coordinates the work of these three different systems by organizing the information we hear, see, and store into working memory. So the three sort of main aspects, phonological loop deals with auditory information, visual spatial sketchpad deals with information we see, and this is even in terms of design as well. So in terms of the text font, in terms of color, in terms of size, space even between objects, and even any sort of movement involved in that as well. An episodic buffer integrates the information across all of these sensory domains and communicates with long-term memory. So this is sort of how we have to be careful about overloading information. We need to set limits on how much information students and audiences can consume. So some just sort of basic pointers if you are going to use PowerPoint or Prezi or any sort of audio material information. So some pointers for presentations. Now, obviously, none of you used PowerPoint or Prezi, but the more and more and more you go on, the more it's sort of encouraged just to have sort of a more engagement with your audience and something that we can actually see as well. So talking about information on the slide rather than the audience read it. Relevant pictures are used, and irrelevant pictures really do absolutely nothing for anything. So just try to avoid any sort of irrelevant pictures, or even actually having pictures on PowerPoints as well, because we're mostly visual learners too. So leveraging the working memory by dividing the information between the visual and auditory. Doing this reduces the likelihood of one system becoming overloaded. Using simple clues to direct learners to important points. So this is paying attention to text size, bolding, italics, placing content in a highlighted or shaded text box, sort of to highlight that. So even Andrew, even in terms of you saying those lines at the start, if you just had that on one point slide highlighted with a nice picture, we would have been in you immediately, and you wouldn't have to have had done anything else. Like we would have been with you. And don't ever put all the words that you're speaking on your PowerPoint. Keep it quite simple. Never full paragraphs, ever, ever, ever. I have seen some students do this, and it is not enjoyable to see or read. So I just, maybe I want to do this. So using compelling visuals. So it only takes about 1/4 of a second for the human brain to process and attach a meaning to a symbol. It's very, very quick. By comparison, it takes us an average of 6 seconds to read 20 to 25 words. So using even sort of symbols over written word or visuals over text. So actually, as a survey, how many people have used PowerPoint, have ever been taught PowerPoint, or taught Prezi, or have used any of these? So you can put your mics on, and I just want to hear.
I've used PowerPoints a couple of times over the years, but not regularly. Just about twice, perhaps twice, 3 times.
Okay. Any others?
I've used
Yeah,
I use it regularly as well.
You use it regularly.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, and
Bro?
I see already yeah, and also already the don't, especially when you use the words on a PowerPoint. So actually for the marks for that.
And Nicole, Crystal?
Yeah.
PowerPoints a few times.
Yeah, I've used PowerPoint on Sway, not really Prezi, but PowerPoint on Sway for presentations. I typically use them in almost every presentation I do.
Okay.
I just saw this one was just a short. I just thought you were just supposed to speak shortly about what you were doing. I didn't realize it was like a presentation.
Oh, well, no, I mean, this was flexible, but just in terms of, this is also just geared more towards your final Viva as well. So this was not, but even just in terms of being able to present on videos is very important and something that we still need to engage with even in this virtual platform. So within the actual PowerPoint, there's all these different sort of techniques, and I want to make sure that we sort of know how to do them, not to overuse them, but that this is sort of increasing our technical proficiency and making us just look a little bit more professional. So inserting images or GIFs. So anybody that's involved with memes, you understand what GIFs are. So it's just an animated picture, right? And you can get these from the internet. You can get them from files, images from your phone, from your computer, from anything, from screenshots. So actually knowing how to utilize screenshots, it is such a powerful tool, and I use it all the time. So that's really important in terms of knowing how to insert all these different types of images. Inserting video. So also at your, so even in terms of when you guys go forth with all these different projects, you're going to want to video document. You're going to want to take pictures. You're going to want like a catalog, a journal of all these sort of like archives of just even the process that you're going through, right? So knowing how to use all of this is really important. So inserting video in PowerPoint, but even just creating it in general. So I'll do a more detailed presentation about video and audio. This is more geared to just sort of presentations of it. But in terms of you have Mac computers, QuickTime Player is free, and you can audio record and video record or screen record anything on your computer. Super, super powerful tool. And then there's also Game Bar. So anybody that is using Windows, so who actually has like a Windows computer, or if somebody uses a Mac? Either or? Neither? What are your platforms?
Windows.
Windows.
I have both, actually.
Okay. Nobody does? Okay, so I'll do sort of still both. So Game Bar is very specific to Windows. So you might not actually even know that you have this feature on your Windows computer. But if you just type in your search bar for Game Bar, it's sort of related to Xbox, but you don't actually have to have an Xbox. And this Game Bar is basically like the QuickTime from Mac, and it will allow you to record videos on your screen, etc. And then inserting audio. So for Macs, we also have QuickTime that we can do that. Obviously, you know that you have this feature on your phone as well. So if you're going out to interview, or you're going out, or even in terms of having phone conversations, you can do WhatsApp voice recording and then email that to yourself and then have it available to put on a presentation, right? So all these things are really useful tools in terms of creating your final project, but also in terms of the process when this in this all virtual world. So on the Windows computer, there's a voice recorder, and it's literally tiled voice recorder. Mac, it's QuickTime again that you can just record audio. So also in PowerPoint, and it's sort of different in Prezi, you can create animation. Now this only happens when you're actually in the play from presenter view. I have animation, but also Microsoft Teams and Macs are not hugely good friends either. So keep that in mind as well. And then just even the basic of inserting text boxes. So I just wanted to show you the actual PowerPoint platform because I don't know if you guys are actually aware of it, but because we are on the Microsoft One Teams with our Outlook and our Microsoft Teams, you have the availability to get access to PowerPoint, Word, Excel, all of these programs for free online. So you can work on PowerPoint online as well. So I'm going to sort of show you how to access that with your UE email. So that's a possibility, but also with Prezi as well. And if you have any questions, you could always interject me as well. I have no problem with that. So some things to do and not to do. So here is just two different slides about a fishing industry. So in the first one, you have a lot of text. You have a very sort of cliche clip art photo, which also still has a weird sort of caption on it, which the most important information is that there's 150,000 tons of plastic dumped in the ocean. That's the most important information from this, correct? So all of that other information is something that you could be said out loud. But this caption to the right with the highlighted text in a little box just makes it so much faster for us to relay that information. Yeah. So here is another example again. So quoting. So, you know, Andrew, if you quoted these texts from different books of literature, etc. So really pulling out that text with a very bold image makes it just a lot more powerful of an image and also of a visual for us as the audience members. So really keep this in mind for how you actually present some of the work and some of what is actually the most significant thing on that slide that you want to relay to the audience. Yeah. So then I just sort of put these down for your resources on, so screenshots. Does anybody actually use screenshots?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The snip tool is my friend.
Yes, good. Because I feel like it's one of the most valuable tools really out there, because on the internet, you're not always able to get every single image. Obviously, these are all sort of for educational purposes, and I will sort of lean on that too, because I'm giving you other resources that are iffy on that. But this is just the ways to do it for Windows and for Mac. So Windows, yes, you have the snipping tool, or you can use print screen, and also for Mac for the entire screen, Shift Command 3 and Shift Command 4. It's just a super, super easy way to grab images, text, anything from any type of format, which is like super great. And I actually skipped over another thing. So this link Y2Mate, I don't know if you guys know of this, but sometimes, particular for, we'll see on this if videos play, but Microsoft Teams, I can't really even share sound from YouTube right now. So you can go to this site and download any movie or audio file from YouTube, and then you can embed it in something so that you're not actually restricted by bandwidth or being online, or if you need it or manipulate it in a different way, this is a really good URL, y2mate.com, that you can actually pull any sort of footage from YouTube, etc. So, but try to just use it for educational purposes, because of copyright infringement. But that's well, we won't deal with that so seriously. And then also GIFs. So if I play it from this side, you'll see that the fireworks are going off. Isn't that a little bit more exciting than a static image? Memes are just completely relied on this, and you can create your own. So, GIF, it stands for Graphics Interchange Format. It's a short animated picture without sound. However, with the rise of social media, it just really sort of made a comeback, as we all know and probably use them and share them and tweet them. But you can actually, through this website, giphy.com, actually create your own GIF. So it's just something that creates a little bit more intention with your PowerPoint presentations or Prezi. It just can go into any sort of type of format. You can even put them into your films. You can do whatever with them just as much as you could do with an image. So that's also available. So I just want to play a short little clip of the video. I'm just going to play it right now on here, but then I'll make it larger just to make sure that you guys are hearing the sound, because there is some issues with Mac and Microsoft Teams. Some things I hate about PowerPoint, and I figure it's... Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. All right.
There's some things I hate about PowerPoint, and I figure it's kind of my duty to point them out. So here we go. Here's common PowerPoint mistakes. Number one, people tend to put every word they were going to say.
It's a little low, though.
Although this eliminates the need to memorize your talk, ultimately this makes your slides crowded. You will lose your audience's attention before you even reach the bottom of your first slide. Please don't do that anymore, please. Number two, most common. Many people do not run spell check. Big mistake. Nothing makes you look stupider than spelling errors. If it's got a red line under it, recheck the spelling. And finally, I hate this. Avoid excessive bullet pointing. Only bullet key points. Too many bullet points, and your key messages will not stand out. In fact, the term bullet point comes from people firing guns at annoying presenters. Hence the bullet points. Bad color schemes, not good. Clashing background and font colors can lead to distraction, confusion, headache, nausea, vomiting, and loss of bladder control. I can't stay on that one too long. Here's something I've noticed. The number of PowerPoint slides you have in your talk, the less useful your talk actually is. Unfortunately, my presentation is right there. I've also noticed this. People love to pack data in their presentations. They just shove more and more data thinking it's better, but it's not. The more data you have, the harder it is to read your slide, and the effectiveness plummets. Now you can improve the effectiveness by adding some shading and some 3D effects, and then some second order and third order effects, and then, I know, let's add some labels. That'll help a lot. And that's pretty much every marketing slide I've ever seen right there. Then some like VP of marketing standing there going, it's real clear in Q4. What the hell are you talking about? Now, I'm into in animation. People become animators in PowerPoint. You can have things flying all over the place, and that can be good. If you're a visual learner, that will improve the effectiveness of your performance. But if you're easily distracted, more animations and people have no idea what you're talking about. They're just, wow, that is cool, wow. And there's regions here, by the way. There's the simple but effective region. There's the active but confusing, the effective but boring, the active but ineffective, the dull but static region, the busy but useless, the ADD only region, the useful but amusing, the stupid but confusing, the dull triangle, the hyper triangle, the sleepy square, the dizzying pentagon, and everything else I just call pointless motion. That slide right there took me an hour and a half to make, right there. PowerPoint can just suck the life out of you. It's amazing. I've also come up with this. It's a kind of a little science invention called font analysis. Basically, the font you choose says something about who you are as a person. There's a huge list of fonts, and you choose one, and that says something about you. So be careful the font you choose. For example, if you choose Courier New, it happens to be my favorite, you're probably organized and structured. If you choose Matisse, it means you're artistic. And if you choose Times New Roman, it means you're lazy, apathetic, and unimaginative, and you always use the default.
Sorry. Hold on. Okay. Did I lose the... Oh. Okay, so that was super old school, and I know that was super old school, but there were very specific points that I want to actually just go over again too, in terms of, and this is related to Prezi as well, or any other sort of presentational application that you might use. But in terms of crowding your slides with too many words, spell check, huge, 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 huge. I have seen multiple students just put words on, even in their actual title, being incorrectly spelled. Really, you know, in any sort of paper, obviously this might happen, but in a presentation, you see it, just really double check on that. Bad color schemes, so it's actually supposedly very hard to sometimes see white. So even if you put it in a light gray, it helps the eye, especially since we're doing so much screen time these days, to really sort of pay attention to that a little bit more. And even, you know, avoiding neon colors and sort of just keeping it basic or simple. Animation, which I'm not too concerned about this. I will show you how to do it, but it sometimes will make it a little bit easier if you do have some, you know, a few points that you want to go through, to animate those points so they're not on the screen at all at the same time, and that could help. And also font analysis, and also just keep your font consistent. If you look up Avatar and SNL, there's a hilarious sketch with Ryan Gosling about Avatar and Papyrus font, which graphic designers all hate with a passion. And then also just in more general of presentational skills. So even in this virtual world, there's even specific ways of even positioning yourself that make you a little bit more relatable and professional. So even in terms of your position in relative to your camera. So I think, Jerome, you're using your phone, correct? Yes. So being so light, yeah, because the phone camera is a lot closer, but even, you know, to have some gap between the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen of your head, so you're not like blown up like this, gives us a little bit more breathing room when you're presenting anything that you're presenting. So even on a phone, you could back it up a little bit, but it's even just something that, you know, presenters are now actually having to deal with a lot even more for teachers or anything on Zoom, since we're all in this little frame box. So then also in terms of presenting a professional background. So this is not for your everyday like class. This is not what I'm talking about. This is for professional presentations that you will get graded on, that you know, will be showing at a conference setting or etc. So what backgrounds work best is just solid, clean backgrounds. If you can even change it to the virtual, that's even better because it's just a completely clean slate, yeah? Which some of you might have the option to do, some might not. So, I mean, we're all sort of dealing with the best that we can with this, but just to keep it as simple as possible. And how to create the proper lighting. So if anybody does TikTok dances, does anybody? What are looking at the dancers, but you probably have seen even like the TikTok lighting kit, right? So that's that circle mirror right in front of that camera to give you light shone right onto your face. But basically, if you can just present any light source in front of your camera, that will help light you better than if it's backlit, because that just presents more shadows on the actual camera of your computer or phone. And then also just in terms of like even considering what type of clothing. So just being, you know, we want you to leave this class as professionals. So this is just another step in towards of thinking about how to present yourself professionally in the working environment. So even in terms of your presentation, just to wear sort of very solid, bold colors. It could be a bold color or it could be a solid color. So, I mean, Andrew, you're wearing a very nice shirt to present today. So that's just something to keep in mind, just in terms of our, you know, the actual aesthetics of presenting in this virtual environment now as well. So I have another video to show you, and I'll go to
If you're showing the video, I'm not seeing anything. I'm still seeing the slide that says how to present a presentation only.
Oh, you're seeing this. When it goes to Microsoft Teams and Mac are not very good friends. You can see it. Cool. So you're seeing it, yeah? Correct. But not large, yeah? Okay. Now we're seeing it large, everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. And sound, give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound.
No sound.
Anything I do.
You're not hearing anything.
I'm hearing, but it's really soft.
Okay, maybe if I turn it up.
For the actual meeting day. Practice running through your presentation using the meeting software.
Yeah, that's better.
So that you're comfortable with using the presentation software and the meeting software on the day of your presentation. Make sure to time your presentation so you know you're staying within the time guidelines. Keep in mind that some things take a little longer in an online setting. For example, during questions, you'll need to wait for your audience to unmute their mics before speaking. Come to your presentation looking professional. Just because the presentation is online does not mean you should dress differently than you would for a face-to-face presentation. Starting the meeting. Take some time at the beginning of your presentation to set some guidelines for your audience to help your presentation run smoothly and to reduce the number of distractions. Give your participants instructions for how you would like them to interact with you during the presentation. Do you want your audience to wait until the end of the presentation to ask questions, Or can they ask questions throughout the presentation? Ask participants to mute their mics to avoid any noisy interruptions. If you're the host of a meeting in Zoom, you have the ability to mute participants who have forgotten to mute themselves. Just hover over their image and click mute. When people do ask questions, how are you going to avoid everyone talking over one another? There are two useful tools in Zoom to help with this: the raise hand feature and the chat tool. Decide which tool you're going to use and give your audience instructions on how to use the tool. If you instruct users to use the chat for questions, make sure you monitor the chat. Sharing your screen. Online, you'll be sharing your computer screen with others in the meeting. Use these tips to ensure you can do this step quickly. Have your presentation already open and on the slide you're going to start on before the meeting begins. If there are any other supporting materials you're going to share during the meeting, have these open as well. Close all other applications that you do not want to share with meeting participants so you don't accidentally share any private information. Remember to practice sharing your screen before the presentation day. To share your screen in Zoom, click Share Screen from the bottom menu. Choose the presentation you wish to share and click Share. The meeting participants will now see your presentation. Giving the presentation. Giving an online presentation uses many of the same skills you would use when giving a face-to-face presentation. However, it can be harder to keep the attention of your audience in an online meeting, so there are a few important guidelines to remember. If possible, put your presentation on presentation mode so that your audience sees the slides as full screen and they don't see your speaker notes or the next slides. You'll need a second monitor, a large enough monitor to split the screen, or a printed copy of your speaker notes to do this, as you won't be able to see your notes in presentation mode either. When presenting online, it may be tempting to read your slides or read a prepared script. You want to avoid reading, as your presentation will be less engaging. When you share your screen, remember your video will still be visible to your audience, so you still need to be aware of what you're doing. To keep the audience engaged, try to look at your webcam and avoid looking down at notes or another screen. If you're using Zoom, you can use the annotation tools if you want to emphasize or add something to your slides. When you share your screen, your audience can see your mouse and anything you do on screen, so be careful you're not being distracting by moving your mouse around. When you've concluded the presentation, make sure you stop sharing so that you don't share anything with your audience that you don't want to share. For more information on presentation skills, you can visit the presentation.
Okay. So some things to sort of highlight. Microsoft Teams. So some things to sort of highlight, and that is, so, you know, if you share your screen and you're at your web browser or whatever, and you have like a million tabs open with your Gmail open and the 1,000 unread emails and your tab of like Facebook, your tab of like whatever, just to make sure that that's not actually coming forward when you're sharing your screen. I see that a lot. So closing all extra applications that you don't need while you're just presenting. Like, it's not to say that these aren't open all the time on your computer, but you know, when you're taking the time out for this 20 minutes to actually, you know, give it the value of that. And also speaker notes. So, you know, this is sort of an advantage over in person because you have more leeway to have things around you to help you sort of talk through your paper or etc. But as they pointed out, to not just actually like read it like a script, to still sort of be open, to be improvisational within your talking, to have your presentation sort of help you out with the points that you need to say, but still to like engage with the camera, or even, you know, to pretend to look at somebody within another screen too helps as well. Just sort of to create that engagement with the audience. There is a, let's see what I wanted. So there's links on this as well, and I'll send this to Joanne so that you guys have more these resources on different sites that sort of give you a little bit more information about presenting online, and also just information about PowerPoint, etc. I wanted to show you this brief introduction about Prezi if you're interested to work in this platform. It's a free online platform for creating presentations. And it works in a very different way than PowerPoint. So it just gives a different sort of aesthetic to you if you're interested in that. This is also a nice little tool for PowerPoint. So even within a video, I didn't want to show this first 30 seconds, and I was too lazy to put it into an editing app to trim it, which is possible. You could do that, and I would highly recommend that in a formal presentation. But in PowerPoint, you can actually make little bookmarks of where you want videos to start without actually having to go through the process of trimming. So it's sort of a nice little tool here that you can go, if you double click if you double click on the video, you have all these different sort of options that you can play around with that can help you organize your videos, etc. So this is just a brief on Prezi.
What it allows you to do is zoom around a background picture or color, and this is basically what Prezi can do. Zoom around to help get your point across and all that. It used in classes anymore, as well as professional presentation situations. And it also allows you to add multiple photo layers. So when you zoom in further, you then enter a new photo layer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, you will need to go to Prezi.com. You'll click the Get Started button. Come over to the free account. When you have a free account,
It's just shooting a little low. Yeah, just what she presenting there, a little low.
Oh, the sound? Okay.
save it or not. I'm going to just fill this out. Once I'm done, I'm going to create your free public account.
Ooh.
Once you have created an account, Prezi will show you the basics.
The sound is a little low.
Okay.
Prezi,
is that better?
To show you everything, I am going to create my own.
It still is a bit low for some reason.
It's because Microsoft Teams and Mac don't like each other with sound.
That is what I have been realizing. I'm having that challenge myself. Okay.
You can start a blank Prezi. What they have here is a preset of where all your slides will go. You can also choose to move them elsewhere. Let's say you need more slides than what they give you, then you can add a frame just by clicking up here, and it adds it to right after whichever one you're just on. But you can also rearrange the path, so if I want it to happen after it zooms out, then I can do that. I can edit the path. You can also have some form of animation happen just by clicking the edit path and then click on the star. You can apply a fade in effect, but that is the only effect they give you, unfortunately.
So just because of the volume's sake, I have the links for these videos, but really the difference between Prezi and PowerPoint that you'll notice is that PowerPoint, you sort of just have more stagnant linear slides. Well, Prezi sort of gives you a little bit more flexibility in terms of the overall aesthetic of your presentation. So you are sort of having one sort of static image at the first, and then it always zooms in and zooms out within the different slides that you have. So Prezi really loves zooming in and out to sort of give a little bit more of that animation feel, which sometimes is a nice change than watching PowerPoint over PowerPoint over PowerPoint. But the other thing with Prezi, though, is that it does take up a lot of CPU. So if you don't have a very strong computer, it might be a little bit difficult to work with online because you're working this online. You could download a desktop app for it as well and work offline, but there's been a little bit of glitches within in terms of using your computer with it. So just to sort of recap like a little bit more about the presentation. So really starting strong, like what we even saw today. I know everything wasn't exactly formal, but you know, even the way that Andrew started with those strong quotes. So a strong quote, a visual, a video, an audio, like, but very short. Like we were talking about less than 10 seconds here, to really sort of start the presentation, to really engage the audience and get them on board. So using compelling visuals, so important. We're in the arts. Use visuals, whether it's video or images or GIFs or anything. It's very, very important. And we process images within as few as 13 milliseconds. So we're processing images way faster than we're able to retain text or any other type of material. Making eye contact. I know we're in a virtual world, but still attempting to do that, even sort of engaging with our own webcams. Using proper lighting. So we talked about it being in front of the camera and not behind you. So this is an interesting way, so tying in social media. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways. This is of people live streaming and creating sort of dialogues within social media and creating a very strong hashtag if you have a project that you're working on within social media, but making sure that hashtag is strong and unique so it has lasting effects, because I see a lot of different projects online that sort of use a very generic hashtag and then it gets sort of all of their sort of feed of videos and audio just gets lost. But it's a different way that you might play around with different ways of engaging with your audience and also engaging with your community and engaging in the longevity of the project as well. Do not read straight from your slides and don't have too much text. You know, you can use all these design templates that PowerPoint and Prezi give you, and there's a lot of options out there. If you just go to this link on design, so even within this one format, there's all these variations. So not sticking to the exact same, but playing around, just play around with the software. And I think that's a really good way to actually get more familiar with it and know more things that you can actually do. When you're actually presenting formally, to take actual pauses, you don't have to rush through all the material. You should have rehearsed this over and over and over again, which is the next point. So really actually even rehearsing with pauses. I don't know if Dr. Toll did this either, but even during my PhD defense, they would ask me a question and I would breathe for 5 seconds. No joke, not answer anything, breathe for 5 seconds and then answered. And they thought I wasn't nervous. They thought I wasn't anxious. And I was like twiddling my thumbs underneath my desk. I was so nervous. But that one pause that I took, even though I felt so long for me, it actually didn't relate to my audience in any way that it was actually long. So, you know, even actually taking some time to breathe is actually a very important element. Rehearsing. So last, you know, semester, all of the projects had to go virtual. And I think with my student, I rehearsed her project with me, with your supervisor. I think we did it 4 or 5 times. 20 minutes, get with your supervisor, rehearse. It makes such a difference in terms of how comfortable you feel at the end, and also in terms of what feedback your supervisor can give you for your actual presentation too. And then always sort of to conclude a presentation. I think that's sort of an important element, to end it in some sort of final way through, you know, where this might go, or what you've learned, or, you know, any sort of, or a question. So any sort of like just way to sort of finalize all the materials, really sort of important in a presentation. For time's sake, we can't do this, but I was gonna make you all sort of create a slide with me with all these different elements in the one slide to make sure that you could do video recording, or etc. Maybe I'll just leave it at that, but let me see if I can.
We can certainly schedule that. You and I can look and see what we have coming up next.
Okay.
over the course of the lectures. Remember how we have them built, so we can check the course online and certainly have them, because I would love to see them practice these things.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And just to make sure that you're actually being able to use the tools before you actually have to present with the tools. And so the one other thing that I just want to show you, I know we're running out of time, but I'm going to share my, hold on. Okay. So now you should see the web page. So if you go to theoffice.com, everybody that's connected to the University of the West Indies now has an account online. So you don't even actually have to work or even have the application on your computer or PowerPoint anymore. It's here connected to Microsoft Teams, connected to our Outlook. So you have Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, everything.
To sorry to interrupt. I am not sure that they do. They can confirm, because the way how the university set them up in Teams, they have them as guests still.
Yeah, but you can still log in with your UE account, because you can get it. You can even get the applications itself, the downloadable applications for free with your UE account.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Go ahead. Great. I'm glad to hear that. Great.
Yeah, I thought that much. I was a little skeptical, but I'm glad you confirmed that, Nicole. So that's available for you. And then Prezi is just available online at prezi.com. So that's also available for you as well. And that is about it. There's a lot of information in a very short time, but any sort of questions or comments or concerns?
Any questions, guys?
What's the average length of the festival project, the actual presentation at the end? What's the average length of that?
The showcase? The showcase is normally about 20 to 25 minutes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And you will also, for the first time, be presenting on your proposal, and that more than likely will have a time span of 15 to 20 minutes. Right, so this one was just a test run that Dr. Westby could have a sense of your persona. We didn't have a sense of your slides, but certainly you will be given, when I give out the template for the proposal that you would be submitting as your soft copy, for your presentation component of it, we will also be giving you some guidelines. Dr. Westby and I will craft some guidelines for you. So based on her presentation today, I think you would be aware that you must utilize either Prezi or PowerPoint or some kind of platform like that to aid with your delivery, right? But that is normally the time structured. So the proposal presentation would be 15 to 20, and the your showcase is usually 20 to 25. It may even be 30, but most students tend to round off somewhere at 25 minutes or thereabouts. But I can definitely confirm that for you. But that gives you an idea still, Nicole. Any other questions? Andrew, look like you have a question. Mike, your mic.
Since I don't have access to the course outline and things like that, because I'm still having the issue, I wanted to find out what two things. Can I have the actual Teams code for this course? Because I think I could get through that way. The actual Teams code, if I go on Microsoft Teams and I get the actual Teams code, I think I could get through that way.
I'll see if I can find that, but as we speak here, I'm going to email to you the course outline.
Okay, much appreciated.
Yes, no problem.
Well, I know this would be any course outline. I was just wondering when exactly does facilitation take place? when we actually begin to work with the group? Is that like in second semester, sometime in
Um, what I have some measure of flexibility. Definitely in the second semester is when you should be working with your group. However, depending on the strength of your project in terms of one page and your proposal, I encourage students to go ahead and start towards the end of the first semester. For sure, in this instance, you will be awarded supervisors very soon after you have submitted the one page. So when you get your one page approval, you will also within a week or so be given a supervisor. So having a supervisor from early on, even though you're supposed to be working on your proposal, that will be your other major piece of work for this semester. If you can manage it and you can handle it, then you are allowed to proceed with working on your project. But that really depends on your ability to submit a good proposal. And of course, you can work with your group, but your priority for this semester would be to work on that proposal.
What about the letter of introduction of the project and the student facilitators to
Right.
the
So,
different like
so
organizations and
So,
institutions?
so what do you do is you would send me an email requesting that, and I will forward that on to Mrs. Corliss Hart, the clerical assistant for the course for the Carnival Studies program, and she will send you the necessary documentation. I believe there's something that you will fill out with your details, send that back to her, and she will construct the letter, and I will sign, and then it will be sent off to you. So the sooner you do that, the faster you can get that back. It doesn't really take a lot of time, but that is the way in which she keeps record as well as to who has requested what and who's working where.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions, class, for myself or Dr. Westby? Feel free. Okay. We're all good then? All right. So class, join me in thanking Dr. Westby for her first lecture. I did come in between and I myself will be reviewing it. I found it quite enjoyable and I was very intrigued by the theory that was first presented. I think Dr. Westby's style and all of presentation is something that you can certainly use as a benchmark for some of your other courses. Certainly as academics, because you are budding academics, budding scholars, to have found an engaging way to present a theory first and then support it by what would have happened in today's class and then with the practical examples is quite a very useful way for us to present in humanities, I think, because people tend to think either that we only know theory or on the other end, especially for us at DCFA, that all we know is performance. But the truth is, we are among some of the more brilliant because you do have to have the capacity to perform to your highest excellence and at the same time to be an academic in terms of understanding theories and relating them to what you do. Agreed? So somewhat like what the engineers have to do in a sense. Um, so that I found that very useful even for the way in which it was presented, but the content of course is valuable and we do have it recorded and you will be able to go on to the YouTube channel. I understand that there was some challenge still accessing some of them, so I am going to make them public, but you would need to subscribe to the channel that you would always be able to get your recordings of the lectures that I have placed there. Okay. So where we go from here now is that you will be expected to submit your one page. The details of that you will find in your course outline and just note the deadline date for it. And I will see you all in class next week. I believe I will be having my first guest next week. I'm very excited to have him. I give him about 4 things to work on, so I believe I will have him come from time to time. And I do have someone else who I would want to come and chat with you. And these are all graduates from the course, outstanding graduates, I might say, in terms of the projects that they're doing. I have deliberately chosen persons whose projects have either become their job, their career, their business, or part of their business for deliberate reasons that I do want you to see the relevance of this course in terms of building your career when you leave us. So I do look forward to that next week and to the weeks to come. Right, so I think we can end here. 6:04. I think we did quite well. We did a bit, quite a bit today. Give yourselves a round of applause for those of you who were able to present. I commend you for the scholarship and the effort. I do hope that your colleagues will join us next week. Unfortunately, we wouldn't get to hear what they have to say, but I do promise you, upon your date of your one-page submission, you will receive feedback the week after. I believe that week when you submit, you will have another guest lecture. That's where Miss Debreo comes in to talk about project management. We can all check back the schedule to be sure, but I know another one is coming up quite soon. So you can look out for that. But most definitely, I'll see you all next week in class. All right. So I
Thank
need to turn off the recording now. Really nice having you all today in class. Great way to spend a Friday evening. And I hope you all have a productive and enjoyable weekend. And of course, please continue to be safe.
Thank you, Dr. Scholl.
Yes, thank you too. Good
Thank you.
evening to all.
Bye, everyone.